I really thought that God was like holding my blessings back here and was like, weep, weep. And then once you weep here is a new client, here's a new creative opportunity, here's a new, random check or whatever else. Hey y'all, it's Chimdi. So if you've been following my channel, you know I am on a healing journey and I'm constantly weeping. And I was weeping last night and I came to the realization that maybe I have some problematic beliefs around healing that are not actually serving me, and I want to explore it with y'all. So that's what this video is about. Before we get into it, Patreon people, you remain the best thing that's ever happened to me. The best that's ever happened to me. I love you. Thank you. Subscribers, hi. Great taste. Very attractive, great taste. That's how I'd sum y'all up. Coaching clients, I mean, incomparable. If you want some creative coaching support, the link is in the bio. I also have a weekly newsletter. It's called On My Spirit. If you want basically like a summary of what I've been reading and watching and being blessed with, you can sign up for that. Now let's get into it. Let's talk about healing and maybe being addicted to healing and addicted to weeping, which is what I think I've essentially like cultivated, is an addiction to weeping. So I want to talk about the two problematic beliefs I have. The first problematic belief is that healing only counts if you are weeping. Okay? Which, when I say it out loud, is ridiculous. Not dancing or singing a song, not being in nature, not any kind of physical practice like breath work or getting massages or playing music or singing in a choir. There's a whole spectrum of beautiful, healing, restorative things and modalities. In my heart of hearts, until last night, I believe the only valid way you know you have healed is if you have wept. And the reason why I came to that belief is I spent most of my life not weeping, right? So I grew up in a situation where it didn't really behoove me to express my sad emotions because unfortunately they weren't really met. And so I had to learn to truly self-soothe. But back then I didn't really know what that was. Essentially, I was just kind of holding all of my intense emotions in. And then I recently participated in this intense trauma healing program, and very first day, I am weeping. My relationship to weeping had been this really uncomfortable relationship because I associated weeping with not having my needs met and the pain of like reaching out for connection and not being met in that. So I really tried to avoid weeping as much as I could. Like, it was not a part of my lifestyle. I'd say I cried maybe once a quarter. And to go from that, from once a quarter cry, to now essentially basically a regular practice of sobbing every single day was a real change. It was a really intense 180. But what I found, and this is why I think that switch was created, is that I would weep and then I would feel so much better. Like, I would feel tangibly so much better in my spirit and my energy and my body. I had this lightness, I had this openness, and I just was like, oh, I can really measure the difference between being a certain way, not even being fully conscious, but that being my normal, having a massive sob, and then feeling just like, wow, everything is okay, I am protected, God is good, life is good, And so in that way, I started to, the neurons that wire together, fire together, if you're a Joe Dispenza person. And so these neurons of weeping wired and fired with these neurons of healing, right? And so it became this sort of like unshakable link to me. The second thing, and the second belief that supported this idea that weeping is healing and that's all that is that whenever I would weep and have this big, massive process, I would also see shifts in my external material world. It was literally like clockwork. Like, I'd have some big process, the next morning I'd get an email with a new client. I'd have some big process, the next day I'd get like some payment, from some person. So I would always have these really specific tangible rewards in my life that came from doing these big weeping processes. And I think that created a really harmful idea that in order to receive blessings, clients, resources, money, meet milestones, whatever it was, in order to achieve success in the material world, that came at the cost of sobbing, weeping, suffering, pain, really being with these really hard things from my childhood. And so I approached it the way I historically have approached a lot of things, which is to go really hard and to be really intense with it. So I created this practice of basically every single day doing a really big process, connecting to something really like upsetting and overwhelming from my childhood, sobbing so hard about it, and then the next day feeling lighter and brighter and great and having some kind of material thing be different in my life. As you can imagine, that was not sustainable. And so after a year and a half of being in this trauma program, that is a 2-year program, I was like, I gotta get out of here, because I knew I was like, this was way too much, and I was basically reaching the same kind of burnout that I experienced with my job. So I was just like, I gotta go. And so I thought that that was all I needed to do, and I would simply kind of return to like easing back into my regular, joyful, happy life. But what I found is that no, those neurons were wired together. And so I found that I still would essentially, maybe instead of it being every day, it was now like 3 times a week. I was having a big process. And basically every day I was still crying a little bit, you know, at some point during the day. And not always sad tears. Sometimes it'd be like, I hear a Taylor Swift song I really like, and I'm like, wow, I love this song. So grateful for everything that had to happen in the world for this song to exist and for me to hear it. But a lot of the times it would be from some kind of overwhelm. Last night I was trying to switch up my approach, and instead of connecting to like really overwhelming, traumatic, sad things, instead connect to this feeling of love and support and feel that emotion kind of fill up my body. I did that for a few times, and then I wanted to make it a habit, right? So I did it like 4 times, like to the 5th time. Basically, I was doing it and still connecting to joy and happiness to the point of weeping, because I still believed weeping was healing. And so I was gonna do it again, and my spirit was like, I really don't wanna. And so I was like, let me be with this resistance. And that's when I came to this realization that I really thought that God was like holding my blessings back here and was like, weep, weep. And then once you weep here is a new client, here's a new creative opportunity, here's a new random check or whatever else. And I just understood so fundamentally that like that is 1000% not how God works. Like that is not at all, it's not this tit for tat weeping for blessings exchange. And the fact that I had been thinking that in the first place, I thought was just so wild, so wild. And so I wanted to come on here and share with you all, because I think this idea of like suffering being necessary, like suffering being part of the human condition, suffering being what you have to experience to deserve blessings, to deserve your promotion at work, to deserve love from your family, to deserve to live in your dream apartment, like whatever else. I realized like I'm probably not the only one who thinks like that. And I think it's a part of our culture, this idea that, yeah, you have to hustle. It has to hurt in order for you to have these things you love and to have relationships you love. And I was like, it's not true. It's just not true. And I really believe that. And so it's only been a day, you know, of me really examining that and wanting to try and be different and not associate pain and sorrow and weeping and sobbing with health and success and blessings and love. So it's still new, but it feels really important. And so I just want to make a video and share it with you all. So let me know in the comments how your healing journey is going. If you've found yourself having a similar relationship to healing in terms of feeling like processing all this trauma is truly the way to live a happy, healthy, sustainable life. If you've got another way of healing that maybe is more restorative or less exhausting than sobbing all of the time, because I'd love to experiment with it. And just a reminder to be gentle and give yourself grace, because we are truly all walking together and all figuring it out. Thank you again for subscribing. I really appreciate y'all. Thank you, Patreon people. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.